into your chest. If you want to put your hand on your chest and on your belly as you feel your breath going in and out, feeling really grounded. Think about when as you walked here, the water in your water bottle is sloshing around. It's all agitated. And then not too long after you stop and set your bag down, does that water become still? So as a teacher, we can learn from the way that water does that. We can be really agitated. We can be really wound up. That's how I felt before arriving here today, feeling very tense, feeling wound up, feeling agitated, and then coming to recognize that and acknowledge that, and then make efforts to make choices to be calmer, to settle, just like that water in your water bottle settles. So being here in this moment, settling into our place, your water bottle sitting still and you are sitting still, making choices to be very present in this moment. Thanks for being here. A quick reminder that this is an option for you, interpreting maple sugaring to families. It's an opportunity that will give you 2 credits, AEE 297. You will contact up there at the top Lori McLaughlin. She is still looking for more students to be in this class. The people that take this class play a key role in the Maple Harvest Festival at Shavers Creek, getting to teach the stations. It's a great opportunity to be with people, to teach, and to learn something new, the whole maple sugaring process. So that is an option that's still available to you. And then I have a special guest star here who's going to join me to tell you about another opportunity. Some of you may recognize her. There she is. Da, da, da. This is my friend Xylem. She and I work together at Shavers Creek. How many of you recognize Xylem? You've hung out with her at outdoor school? Yeah, number of hands out there. Excellent. So she's going to tell you more about the outdoor school opportunity and the choices there.
Indeed. So I believe, I turned the green light on. Green light, green light.
You're good.
Great. I believe that every choice matters, and you can choose to learn from someone or you can choose to judge them. And once you do one of those, you eliminate the other. So let that sink in for a moment. So my hope is that you will choose to learn from me this morning about an opportunity for you to, can I use the clicker thing? Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Push down, not up.
Down.
An opportunity for you to choose an experience that gets you outside of the 4 walls of the classroom. Our classroom doesn't have windows or doors because we are outside. So at outdoor school, let's go back one. At outdoor school, we are hands-on and feet in, and we are engaging with the natural world. So we're not just teaching science-y stuff, we are actually experiencing the natural world. We're getting dirty, we're rolling over logs, we're looking in the water, we are having interpersonal, in-person experiences with a group of 5th grade students who are coming from local school districts. Outdoor school is also a place where you will experience and learn skills that we can't necessarily teach in a classroom. They're the kind of skills that you develop just by doing them, and some of those are listed here. Okay, so I just want to show you a few pictures of outdoor school in action so you can see how excited these kiddos are to be here, and knowing that you, as a college student, you occupy a special place in the universe. There's nobody quite like you in their lives. You're not an older sibling bossing them around. You're not parents telling them what to do. You're not their teachers they're tired of looking at every day. You are this new, exciting, engaging person that can really have an impact on them through the experience. So you would help in 2 different capacities. One, you would be part of a teaching team, and you would help to teach our lessons, get in there, get in the stream with them, help them make the most of the experience. Oh, yeah, here they are having experiences. And then you also would live in a cabin. So you and a co-counselor would live in a cabin with the kids and really help them make the most of their week. Sort of like going to summer camp in the middle of the school year. Oh, there's a cabin. Yep, see how happy they are? We will feed you for the week. So outdoor school usually starts on a Monday. We will feed you starting Monday dinner through Friday lunch, so that's pretty sweet. You get 2 credits. It counts as general health and wellness if you have not filled those yet. It's also 75 community volunteer service hours. So if you have a major where you have to get hours, this is a great way to knock out 75 hours. That's a lot of hours. It feels like camp. We're trying to create community. And so we do lessons, we do science activities, but then every evening we have community activities. And one of those is to have a campfire. When was the last time you went to a campfire and you just sang songs and did skits? Yeah, see, only the people who just did outdoor school are raising their hands. Yeah, the rest of you need to do that sometime. It's good stuff. Oh, look at that kid's face. He is so sad. Because in just 4 days, he made a connection with his counselors, and he doesn't want to go home. And you can have that kind of powerful impact on a kid if you choose to, step outside of the traditional comfort zone of college classes and do something a little different. So there are, five weeks of outdoor school. You don't do all 5. That would be terrible. On the application, you click the ones that you could do. You'd be selected for just one if we're able to offer you a spot. We do have 2 training dates. And I will say that all of this information is on some yellow flyers that I have placed on the banisters or the railings around the room, so you can grab one as you go out. And the TAs will also pick those up and have some available in your lab sections as well. But if you wanted to take a picture of that real quick, oh wait, they've put their phones away, sorry. You cannot take a picture of that, you just have to memorize it. So Jen will put it on Canvas for you to see as well. Anybody have any questions real quick? Any questions about outdoor school? Free food, 2 credits, a great leadership experience. Folks who are in the class who have done it, you can talk it up in your lab sections sometime as well. So thanks. Thanks, Jen.
You bet. Thanks for coming, Zion.
Okay, so I have to
It is. Yes.
to Maddie, and I have to jump off the stage.
Yeah, just jump off over there. I know, just hold your breath. No, keep breathing. That's what I mean. Nice job. Okay. So thank you, and if you have any questions about outdoor school, I'll send this out as a Canvas announcement so that you all have this information of how to get in contact with the outdoor school team, noting that the application deadline is February 8th there, so we'll be able to get you connected if you want to get connected. All right, so now a flashback to what we were doing last Wednesday, thinking about dualism, thinking about how to shift that, possibilities of dualism, and we're going to do that today with this question: what is half of 8? So the obvious answer is, right, just say it, 4. Okay, half of 8 is 4. So that's one way of thinking about it. But then what happens if you think outside of the usual box? Then how could this be? How is half of 8 0? Well, if you cut it this way, then you get 0. What about this? Then you get these options, an E or a 3. And then what happens if you look at it this way? Then you get a W or an M. Half of 8 can be so many different things, right? So when we exercise this capacity to think outside of the typical way, outside of the normal, outside of maybe outside of your traditional education, we can even take it a little farther. Half of 8, oh, well, if you were a Roman, then the Roman numerals like this, then it could be VI or II. What about this? Half of 8, those are leftovers. So there are lots of ways to kind of break out of the traditional way of thinking. So the direct awareness of how our built-in biases, of how we've already started, can then, if we become aware of those things, those built-in biases, then it can reduce the impact of the bias on how we see the world. So this gives us the choice then to acknowledge and manage those biases, or we can deny and ignore them. So it gives us a choice of how to move forward. So transcending dualism, opening to new possibilities that we might become inherently powerful and creative and free. So the idea that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. The idea that we have to keep. This is an age where there's so much new information coming all the time that to be able to put aside the old things. This happened a lot during COVID, where new information was coming out and we had to flow with it. We had to understand it. We had to figure out what was real and what was fake news, and then we had to follow up, catch up on what was going on. It's unlearning and relearning what's possible. So every day we face thousands of choices, major and minor choices, from whether to eat that decadent chocolate cupcake, that is served to you, or when to pursue a romantic relationship, or whether to change a major or change careers. So all kinds of different opportunities for choice. So how do we make those choices? Think about being in the grocery store and you have your list of things that you need, and then you walk into the grocery store and the average grocery store has 40,000 different items in it. So what happens to your list? Do you follow the list and get exactly what's on there? Or do you walk around and, oh my gosh, I really like Kit Kat bars. I'll just put those in the cart. So we're confronted with these choices, the choice of what you need or the things that you want that face us all the time. So our brain does all of this, right? In theory, that's what a lot of us have come to believe, that our brain is completing these actions of planning and comparing and then, figuring out those competing needs and then ultimately leading you to, what is it, the food that's in your cart when you get to the checkout counter? Your brain has processed a lot of that. So our brain does that in a couple of different ways. A new study is suggesting that it relies on two separate places, different brain regions within the prefrontal cortex that helps all of this to happen. So there's one region that helps determine the overall value of the choices in question, right? Weighing the options. There's one part that does that. The risk versus the reward. If I buy this pack of Kit Kats, then I'm not going to have enough money to buy that lettuce that I actually came in for, or whatever it might be. So what's the risk versus the reward in those choices? And then there's another part of your brain that actually chooses how we ultimately behave. So we're trying to prevent the bad things from happening, the loss, and then we're trying to encourage the good things. So in the grocery store example, how much money do you have? How much money are you willing to spend? Are you going to use, what's in the bank, or are you going to put it on credit? How much time are you going to spend in the store wandering around and making those choices? How many calories and what kind of calories do you want or need to consume? So it seems kind of simple. I'm going to stop at the grocery store, and then you could be confronted with all of these different choices. And so that's the research about the brain that's going on right now, but it's not actually all that simple. The brain isn't trustworthy by itself. We sometimes make decisions based on too little information or maybe on expectations that we have set and that are unrealistic, or something happens with those expectations and maybe none of the choices are going to fit what we need to meet the criteria. So then maybe we end up settling for something that's just not right. So consider the big choices in life. Things like relationships of all different kinds, and investments. Investments could be time or money or energy. Could be things about your job. So if you just take those big choices and you make a list of pros and cons about each one. So for deciding which college to go to when I was 18, I made a list of the colleges, and then I made a list of pros and cons, and the one with the most pros is where I went to college. I also got to that college. I went to Westminster College, north of Pittsburgh. I got to that college and realized I chose based on my list of pros, but Westminster didn't actually have the major that I wanted to study. It had all these other good things, but there was more to it than what I had done in my list of pros and cons. So what we lose then is this idea that we have other ways of processing information. It's more about your full body intelligence. So we have all of this other equipment, and this is how it's connected. The lesser known nervous system, called the enteric nervous system, it lines the gut containing 100 million neurons, which is actually more than your spinal cord or more than your peripheral nervous system, which goes out into your arms and legs. So there's this lesser known system that does have direct communication with our brain. So we say things like, oh, go with your gut, or you have a gut reaction to something, and that's because we have all this nervous system that we often don't acknowledge based in the lining of our gut. So there really is a gut feeling when something isn't quite right, or you know immediately what you need to do. Follow your gut. So this enteric nervous system relies on the same kinds of neurons and neurotransmitters that are found in your central nervous system, your brain and your spinal cord. And the gut and the brain communicate through hormones as well as through your immune system. So there are all these ways that these systems are intertwined in our bodies. So this is the biology that we're talking about today. We're talking about the science of ourselves. So when our the fight or flight response through the central nervous system is triggered, the enteric nervous system slows down digestion, and it also, so that the body can have energy to make a quick choice, right? So it might be that in an anxious situation like that, where you have to choose fight or flight, my stomach gets queasy, right? It's because there's been a shutdown of that system. Because we don't need it right now, we really just need to make a quick decision with our heads. So this stress response or a joy response affects our whole body because of all of these connections, all of these nerve centers in our brains and in our bodies throughout. It's like this. We're talking about, see this yellow nerve that runs here from the base of the brain? It stops here in the throat, or connects there, I should say, connects to our lungs, to our heart, and then to all these spots down in our digestive system. This is the vagus nerve. It is the longest nerve in our body. Vagus means wandering, because it wanders all the way through and connects all these different systems. It's the only nerve to extend beyond the head. So all of these systems are connected in this way. And so you think about other phrases, something that pulled on your heartstrings, right? It's connecting the brain to the heart. It opened your heart to new opportunities. So this vagus nerve is really important to know about. You can unlock the power of this vagus nerve when you're feeling really anxious about something and your brain is overacting sometimes. I get really stuck in my head about a choice I need to make. I can actually open the possibility of connecting to these other systems by triggering the vagus nerve to work. So we're going to practice that right now. I'd like you to think of one of your favorite songs. Okay? Think of one of your favorite songs. Bring the lyrics to mind. Bring the tune to mind. Okay, and now that you've got it, I want you to start humming it, okay? Okay, so now, whether you chose to do it, or whether you just laughed at me or your neighbors doing it, either of those things can unlock the vagus nerve. Humming, see how it connects to our throat right there, where the humming is, you know? That triggers our vagus nerve to stimulate into action. But laughing also triggers it. So we have these systems, the breathing that we do at the beginning of class, we do that because I want you to trigger all of these systems. That breathing that we do triggers the vagus nerve into working. So you're glimpsing the idea that we have this power that we don't often acknowledge. Other ways that you can unlock your vagus nerve or trigger it into working better for you, you can splash cold water on your face. That's a trigger. You can hug a friend. You can take those deep breaths. All of those things calm us and stimulate the vagus nerve. So this is a tool you can know. So these connections are really powerful in our bodies, and we're going to go through a little bit more about them here. So first, our brains, this is the one we often use at most as a tool. You know things, you logic them, you reason them, it gives you answers. That's where our knowledge comes from. It's useful when you're taking a test and you need to know the correct answer. Okay? But then we have the idea that you feel. It connects, that vagus nerve connects to our heart. And so that's where you feel and where you love and where your native self, where your real, choices come from when you're being true to who you are. It's useful when you want to express yourself or to pursue something of the unknown. And then we also have this way. This is the gut feelings, right? You intuit something. It's an instinct based on some past experience. It's that enteric nervous system response. It's useful when you need to make a choice or solve a problem without having all of the information. So there's a biologist, a neurobiologist, Robert Sapolsky. He says that chronic stress does lousy things to our systems, specifically to our brains, but also in relation to our guts. So when I was in college, remember I just said they didn't have the major I wanted, so I had to choose, or in my view, I didn't think about transferring. I had to choose something that was kind of close to what I really wanted to do. I really wanted to be a park ranger. And so I thought I would go to school and study things, about interpretation and taking people outside, except Westminster's a really small school. So the closest thing I could get to that was biology. And in order to be a biology major, I needed to take a lot of math. I needed to take a lot of science. I needed to take a lot of chemistry and physics. And I hated all of it. And it was not what was right for me. So I developed stomach problems. And when I developed stomach problems, then my brain wasn't, I was foggy all the time. So I wasn't doing well in my classes because it wasn't the right thing for me, but then also because all of this other stuff, it's like a self-cycle, right? It's stimulating the cycle over and over again. I wasn't doing well in class, so then I would get stressed, and then I would be stressed, and then I wouldn't do well in class. So those digestive problems have carried through until this point in my life. They have persisted. So the breakdown of my stomach so intensely at that point has caused me to have all of these issues now. So when we're out of balance, or when we're trying to fit ourselves into a niche or a box that isn't the right place for us, then it can have all of these longer lasting effects. So stress is something that affects us quite deeply. What Robert Sapolsky also shows is that if we have social support throughout our lives, if we have that really sweet group of friends that we can count on, that we can talk to about anything, then that makes things better. That helps to trigger our equipment into working. The enteric nervous system becomes more balanced in that way. So how we handle stress now actually does affect what we do in the future, hours and days and years into the future. Our bodies get trained into these patterns. So I think that knowing these and understanding these tools that you have of all of this cool equipment in your body can make a big difference. So I want to put it out there now. What is it that you're thinking about or feeling about these connections? What's coming up for you at this point? Microphones are out and around.
Hi, my name's Nick, and this kind of reminds me of like when you learn about like the ancient Egyptians. Like they always thought like the native self was in the heart, and that's why they kind of like left it in the body when they did burials. So that's kind of like what came to mind when I was hearing all this.
Oh, very cool. Thank you. I hadn't thought about that connection. Love that. What else? Anything?
Hi, I'm Gigi. I was just like very interested when you were talking about gut because I found that myself every time that I've had a gut feeling and I didn't listen to it because I thought I was like wrong or it's like no, like you're not feeling this way. I was always wrong and my gut instinct was always right. I think it's really important to listen to your gut because most of the time your gut is really right. Mm-hmm. It's very important.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Gigi, for sharing that. I agree. It's when I've overridden my gut, you know, that like, no, that can't be right. But then, yeah, it ends up more stressful.
I kind of feel the opposite of that because if I put the pressure on my gut to decide, it ends up making it worse.
Thanks for sharing. Do you have an example?
I'm really bad at making decisions. So if I don't go with the first thing that came to my head and then I start to think about it, then if I rely on my gut, it just does not work.
Okay. Very cool. Thank you for sharing your experience. I like hearing different opinions, different voices. Yes?
I've actually felt like sometimes when I'm in situations, I can feel when my system kicks in and my heart starts racing. Mm-hmm. And I know I need to act now or else it's just gonna keep getting worse and I'm not gonna have the courage to do it later. So sometimes I just feel like it's so much better when I just get it out that I feel that that fast release of stress.
Yeah.
And it just feels so much better.
Sweet. Thanks for sharing that. It's all those parts connected. Yeah. So different kinds of experiences, different uses of the equipment. So I want to bring up something that you mentioned up there, the idea of decide versus choose. So the word decide, if you think about that C-I-D-E, that root word, side, if you think about pesticides, you're cutting off the insects, right? If you spray a pesticide, you're killing the insects. An herbicide kills weeds. Suicide is someone killing themselves. So that C-I-D-E means to cut off or to end something. It's related to how we decide. Deciding comes from the analytical mind. So when I chose my college, by my pros and cons list, I said this one has most pros and these are cut off, these are gone. So when I made my college choice, I decided on that. So for me, then choose, I have come to understand that choose is something that is a preference, a want, a desire. It comes from someplace deeper. It's a more grounded thing. It's a more grounded feeling, often based in my passions, often based in my interests, my gut, my heart. It's the other equipment, so it's not just my brain. The root word of choose comes from to taste or to relish. The word shares its ancestry with gusto, to do something with gusto, to act with vigor and enthusiasm. So often when we decide, we opt for what we know, and then when we do that, it sometimes means that we're just going along with the flow, or this is often the underwhelming option. But when we choose, sometimes we're saying yes. When she spoke about how her heart races, and if she doesn't make an action, if she doesn't do something right then she might not have the courage to do it later. So that's when the choosing, it's in spite of maybe a little bit of fear or uncertainty or resistance. So choosing is more of a deeper experience, using all of this. I choose to change my major, even though it's not what's recommended. I choose to come out to my family so that I can be who I really am. I choose. There are all these different kinds of choices. And so this is the moment, my big BiSci aha moment, the first time I was involved with this class, was understanding that I was not using all of my equipment. Whether it was about my college choice or other choices that I've made in life, or those decisions, really. I came to understand them as decisions. And so I invite you for a moment to think of something challenging that either you have chosen or that you are thinking about choosing. Something with passion, something with excitement, something with enthusiasm, something with maybe a little fear. So what was the outcome, or what might be the outcome? Take a moment to talk to your partner about a choice in your life. Those up. This might be a topic that you explore in your labs as you go there this week. What about these words? You can tell I like words. Do you think that this class will be a good way to spend your time? Do you hope that this class will be a good way to spend your time? Or do you choose that this class will be a good way to spend your time? What's the difference in those words? Does anybody want to speak to this? What are the different, almost the connotations of these words?
Hello. Okay. I'm over here.
There you are. Thank you.
I think, think is more like uncertain and you're kind of questioning it. Hope is kind of the opposite. Like, it's still not necessarily for sure that it will be a good way to spend your time, but you're more optimistic about it and you're probably gonna make it that way because you're hoping it will be that way. Mm-hmm. And then choose, it's like it definitely will be because you're gonna go out of your way to make sure that it is a good way to spend your time.
Thank you. Nice. Anybody have something to add? I saw a mic. Yeah, great.
I agree with that, except I would categorize think and hope kind of more similar in being the uncertain, because if you go into something with a certain mindset, like this is going to be bad or whatever, then it's going to be bad. Or like you think you're going to go into a relationship and hurt someone, then you're going to hurt someone. But like if you're choosing to do something, then you're going into something with a mindset of what you're going to do, and like then it will happen. So like if you choose that this class will be a good way to spend your time, it will be.
Very good. So it has to do with mindset, I think. It's a good word. Is there anybody else? Great, thanks. 1 second. Okay.
I just had one more thing to add, like about hope.
Yeah.
I think hope is more, it's like out of your hands.
Yeah,
like, you
right.
have no control over it. You're like, I just hope this class will be a good way to spend my time.
It puts all the responsibility on me, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you for adding that. And somebody else down here.
I feel like choose can be more also like a call to action, and I think that hope and think are a lot more passive in terms of what you're going to do with your decisions.
Thank you. Well done. I like how that all came together. That was lovely. So yes, there is. It's like, it's all of those things that you just said. So when you come here or to any of your other classes, I use this as an example because this is what I know, right? This is my work. But whatever you do, whether you're choosing to be part of whatever, you're going to give it your all, right? You've invested in it. So choosing becomes a hero's journey, right? What you put into it is also going to determine what you get out of it. So a hero doesn't say, well, I've compiled a list of options, and the pros and the cons say that, well, there are more pros, so maybe I should just go ahead and step into the unknown and hope for the best. It's not the classic movie line or storyline or even line of our lives that works, right? It's that the hero on that hero's journey is going to actively choose to face the unknown. And that's what's so powerful. So in your week 3 journal, there's this. I will do my best to respect the 4 pillars of the BiSci 3 culture. So this isn't just about BiSci. I'm not saying it just because I want you to love this class, but I want you to understand that you have the power to direct the course of your learning, whether it's this class or another class or a group that you're part of, a committee that you're on. You have the power to direct the course of that, your engagement with it. So along these lines, you can choose to make your journals more powerful for you. By using I language, it automatically gives it ownership. You are choosing to make it more powerful for you. So rather than saying, people around me should blah, 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 whatever it is, or humans should, or humans could, to make it more powerful, you can say, I am going to do such and such. I am going to make that choice. So you can feel that difference in your heart and your gut, maybe more so than in your mind. So the only person you have control over is you. And so finding and using that I language in your journals is going to help. So by choosing I am and you are, creating and defining your reality. We're finding our way to respond. We're finding that responsibility. So with great power comes great responsibility, and as humans, we have this great power of choice. It's the operating system of our lives. It's how we rock and roll this life that we are given, right? So our beliefs, more than anything else, determine our lives and our destinies, and we get to choose what those things are. So going back to the other day of dualism, understanding that choosing relates to this. Your unlimited inner power, your inner alchemy of how you choose to see these concepts and therefore see the world around you, it releases different chemicals in our bodies. It triggers our nerves in different ways. We can find ways to connect in more complete ways if we are open to listening. So you can do this by not just humming, but also choosing to participate in these sorts of things. So how can this intentional mind shift or shape our experience? So that's what we're gonna talk about. I really appreciated the conversations that we had around this last week, and I hope that continued some in your lab. So the way that it works is that we have a choice to change dualism. We have a choice to move our beliefs from either or to both and. You might want to write this quote down there in your journal. Destiny is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. It is not a thing to be waited for. So how do you feel about this quote? What's exciting about it? What's scary about it? Anyone have, why don't you talk to your neighbor for a minute? Would anyone like to comment on this in the microphone? Any thoughts about this quote?
Hello. I'm up here.
Okay, great. There you go. Thank you.
I kind of feel the opposite of this quote. I feel like the point of destiny, like the idea of destiny is things are like predetermined. So by saying it's a matter of choice is kind of like the antonym of destiny.
Interesting. Very cool. When I put up quotes like this, it's often for your reflection. It's not, that I'm bringing something that I'm trying to push my values and beliefs on you. So I like it when you all wrestle with these kinds of things. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, thanks, Maddie.
Hi, my name's Molly, and I definitely agree with the last person that spoke. I think that with everything, there is a matter of chance, and that you can do everything right in life and you still won't get exactly what you want, because there is an idea in philosophy that this is a predetermined world and that free will might not be as important as you think it might be. But I definitely think that, the power isn't all in our hands. There is stuff that's still up to the universe and others around us to decide for us, and that's just something that we have to live with.
Thank you.
And then, Jen, we have two in the balcony
Okay.
on that side first, and then.
Okay, great. Let's take that side, and then we'll come down here, and then we'll go up there. Balcony person. That's
Okay, I'm right here.
Okay, sorry, I still can't see you. Oh, there you are. Thank you.
So I'm Reagan, and this quote kind of reminds me of this one guy that I've listened to his book like twice because it's just like it really sticks with me. His name is David Goggins, and he like quite literally came from like the ground up. But something that he said that really sticks with me is, I mean, two things. Basically, like you can, whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve it, obviously to a certain extent. But, I mean, I'm not religious, but it's still like sticks with me, I guess. So he said, like once you die, if you like go to heaven or whatever and you talk to God, he shows you like what you were supposed to be, or like, and it's like you either like reached your full potential or like you didn't. And I feel like that kind of like ties in with like the choice of like choosing to better yourself like little by little every day.
Interesting. Huh. Intriguing thoughts. Okay.
We have two over here.
Yep. And then we have to wrap up.
Okay, so hi. We took this, so like my group, like who I was talking to, we took this as like a college experience. So like you choose to get involved. Like it's up to you to like go out there, join clubs. Like you're not here to just waste your parents' money or taking out loans and just going to classes. Like you have to be here to get experience, to like go out there and get a job.
Interesting. Yep. Last one.
Hi, I'm Sam. I agree with what the first couple people said about, like, you will ultimately end up where you're supposed to be, and that's just a matter of, like, if you, I guess the universe, or, like, if you're religious, it's God or whatever. But I also think that the part about choice is really powerful because it's saying, like, ultimately you have the choice whether to show up or not, and you have the choice whether to work hard or not for what the things that you want to do and your goals and ultimately like your dreams in life. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I like this conversation. It's good. So at Juniata College, this is their motto. They put this on all the banners as you come in town. Think about who you are. And Jean-Paul Sartre says, we are our choices. So what would happen if you chose a healthy breakfast? What happened if you chose to decline an invitation to go out when you didn't really feel like it? What happens if you choose to put your phone away when you're walking around? What happens when you choose to end an unhealthy relationship? What happens when you choose to put yourself in places you like with people you respect? Choice is power, and choice is responsibility. And this is what comes, choosing authorship of our lives to avoid becoming victims of our conditioning. And here's your pack back reflection. So thinking about, are you in control of your life, or is life happening to you? I look forward to seeing some of your responses. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.